Good afternoon. It is the afternoon now, indeed. Welcome to the second talk of the fourth day of Industry Week 2023. Hopefully you're all charged after the last talk and ready for round two. Are we ready? Fantastic. You know, it actually has progressively got better throughout the week, so I'm very, very pleased. Folks, today's session is with Monika Strauja, a content strategist, and as part of today's talk, you'll learn a little bit about what content strategy is, alongside how you can represent yourself and develop your own online identity in the right way, in a correct cultural, social, political, ethical way, which is super, super important. And obviously learn all about how to do that effectively in the esports industry. Remember, once again, hashtag IW23, mash the hashtag. I do expect to see some of that today. I'm going to repeat it every talk, and you know it. Without further ado, please welcome to the stage Monika Strauja.
Hi everyone, I hope you can all hear me. I didn't use the hashtag, so I already apologized, Jin. I made a tweet, but didn't use the hashtag, so, very bad of me as a social media person. But hey-o, we move. Hi everybody, I am super excited to be here. I don't know who to look at, because there's so many of you, so I do apologize. I'm just going to be browsing across. So yeah, as Jin mentioned, my name is Monika Strauja. I'm originally from Latvia. I have been involved in professional esports for over 6 years now. I started, same as yourselves, back in university. I think I'm too close to it because I'm breathing into it now. But hey, I'm hoping that some people are going to be just move away, please, because we don't want to hear you breathe. But yeah, I pretty much will tell you more about my most recent role, which is content strategy. I've been doing content strategy since I started, back in whoever knows what year. But content strategy is pretty much my passion right now. I started with social media management and community management, and I pretty much stuck with marketing the whole time. I will try to use the remote, so we'll see how this goes. And it's not working. I've been lied to. It's okay, I can use the keyboard. There we go. Those are some of my details. If any of you want to get in touch, feel free to. I'm always open to talking, be it Twitter, be it LinkedIn, be it an email. On email, I will most likely hesitate to reply because I take a while, as Jin would know. So I do apologize if I do. I check my emails every single day, but for some reason, I'm I can reply to this later. So yeah, just make sure to reach out if you have any more questions after today. I'm also more than happy to obviously speak after the talk. Whatever works for all of you, honestly, is fine with me. So here's a bit of my career portfolio. I think I've given a lesson to some of you, so some of you would have seen this before. But my career progression has been quite significant, I would say, if I do say so myself, But I started in university. I studied at Kiel, law with criminology, at all not related to marketing or esports whatsoever, but I ended up here, so who cares? And then I pretty much got involved with an esports society at Kiel, which I guess opened a lot of doors for me. I gained a lot of experience, and I'm super grateful for them. While being at university, I also worked for Newell Esports. Can I take this out? Sorry. It'll be much more natural. Thank you. So yeah, I got involved with Newell Esports. I started with them as a league admin. And then I moved into a role of Twitch student program product manager. Every single time I say that the title is extremely long. I don't know why, but it was at the time, and that's fine. Also at the time when I worked for Newell, there was only one esports organizer, tournament organizer, and that was Newell. And then NSC came through I don't know, a year later after I joined Newell. After graduating from university, I applied to loads of jobs, got rejected from loads of jobs, and then I was like, you know what? I'll apply to my last role in esports. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Wasn't meant to be. But I landed a role with XL Esports when they just joined LEC. I do believe that was their first split, which, I mean, they weren't doing great. They still aren't, but we don't talk about it. I started with them as a social media specialist. quite quickly after that, I kind of moved into social media and community management. I gained a lot of experience with Excel. I am super grateful for my time with them, but it just wasn't quite healthy. As you can see, after Excel, my kind of mental health break happened. I honestly am so proud that I decided to take that step back and not go straight away into another organization because I just wasn't in the right headspace. That's also when COVID hit. So I think kind of a lesson there is make sure that you listen to yourselves, and if something doesn't feel right, just take that step and move away and return when you're ready, you know. After kind of taking my step back, actually during my step back, I also worked with London United. I took a marketing manager role with them. I tried to kind of set them on the right path where they wanted to go. We worked a lot with them on their strategy for marketing. That's probably where I kind of discovered that strategy is a whole separate role. After London United, I joined Ninjas in Pajamas as a community manager. I pretty much focused quite a bit on Instagram and their Discord and kind of making sure that their community maintains to the highest level. And after Ninjas in Pajamas, I joined Uplift Games, which is a Roblox company who have made a game Adopt Me. Maybe some of you know, maybe not, because the demographic is completely different from people in this room. But to just kind of wrap up Ninjas in Pajamas, the place wasn't right for me. It just didn't work, did not vibe with them at all. It wasn't very female friendly, and that is also completely fine for myself that now I have stepped away, but maybe that's something to consider for the future. When I joined Uplift Games, I was pretty much in a space of I hate esports and I just can't be asked anymore because the experiences just haven't been great. So I found Uplift Games. I joined them because I absolutely loved that the demographic was completely different from esports. The esports demographic that we are looking at is around 16 to 35, I believe, is the demographic right now. And with Uplift Games, because of the Roblox background that they work in, and the game itself is focused on literally adopting animals in-game, the demographic was pretty much 7 to 12-year-olds. So that was a completely different audience that I had to speak to. I thought that that would be a great experience. It was a great career curve. So I took that leap and I absolutely loved it. It was a great company to work with. They are very beginner friendly as well. There's loads of people there that work, kind of started their careers there. I'm slightly out of breath, so I do apologize. But Team Liquid reached out to me while I was at Uplift Games, and through loads of deliberation and loads of thinking of, I am not going to take this role because I am very happy at Uplift Games, they gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I joined Team Liquid as a content strategist. I worked with them under their agency side of things, which is called Liquid Media. My main client was Alienware. You literally have PCs all over this place from Alienware. So those are the ones I worked with. I created content strategy for all their content, going out on all social media channels. I worked a lot with creative leads and video editors, pretty much anybody you can think of within the marketing side of things, that's who I worked with. My time with them got cut short because their contract with Alienware changed and there was no role that I could move into at Team Liquid. There's always opportunities to go back. That is one of the organizations I am very happy about and I absolutely love them, and they gave me great example of what an organization should be like and how much the organization should care about their employees. But yeah, that's kind of my career thus far. You can interrupt me at any point, by the way, if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer, so just let me know. I'm going to take a sip of water because I'm dying. So just to elaborate a little bit on what content strategy is, I'll walk you through pretty much kind of steps of what goes into creating a great strategy for somebody's content. I tried to kind of write it all out in the best way I could, just to make it clear, so all of you can think and decide. Maybe it's a path you want to take in the future. There's a lot that goes kind of into it beforehand, but we'll learn about all of it today. And hopefully I'll inspire some of you, I don't know. So content strategy is a thorough plan in which you use content. I mean, it's in the title, you know. It may be audio, visual, and or written to achieve business goals. Every business will have a goal that starts from their players and ends in their social media content. And making sure that your strategy aligns with all of that is key. There we go. So the kind of key steps that we need to understand while we are creating this strategy, we need to outline the audience we are looking to market to. I will elaborate on all these points later on. Creating a content audit, if applicable. Sometimes when you join a complete startup, they might not have any content prior to you joining, so that might not be possible to create. Analysis, that can be analysis of your organization, competitors, anybody outside of even the industry, you know, anybody that you want to compare yourselves to. Points of consideration, previous learnings, key moments, events, product launches, international holidays, etc. All of those go into the fourth point that you need to consider while you are creating strategy. Outlining the strategic goals. Those are also always different, depending if you are working on quarter, year, 5-year plan basis. Outlining strategic pillars, main focus area for the strategy, as well as strategic goals. Those also can depend on quarterly, yearly, or 5-year basis. Sometimes even 10 years. Some people are crazy. I don't know how you create strategy for 10 years in advance, because like I can't plan content that far, but maybe some wizard can, and I would love to learn. And then as a last point, I've put identifying and elaborating on specific content pieces and how strategy works with planned content. As I said, I'll elaborate on all of these as we go, but feel free to interrupt whenever. Happy to reply. So, to talk a little bit about audience. Depending on what brand you're looking to work with, will depend if there is an already preset audience profile or not. Some companies do have a profile of who they want to advertise to, even if that isn't their actual audience at this time. They're kind of making sure that you understand what the audience is. There's kind of key things that go into that you can ask either yourself to identify who that audience would be, or ask the company so they can elaborate. There are a number of questions that can be asked in order to establish the exact person you are promoting the content piece to. Questions vary from what is the age of our audience to what is our audience's favorite fruit, or what time our audience goes to sleep. You know, whatever it be, all those questions will prove to be vital in the end. Establishing what information will be useful for the company, and in particular the strategy, is vital. It can help you create content catered to a very niche audience, while also allowing you to understand areas that need more explanation and can provide the company with suitable growth plan. Understanding the audience could help you realize that your audience right now, let's say, is only esports people, but you want to grow that, and you kind of correlate that esports enthusiasts are also enthusiastic, let's say, about F1. Then you find that kind of bridge of how to get there, how to entice F1 people to be interested in what you are creating. So kind of making sure that you understand what the steps would be to reach that audience is very important. We'll put it there, that way. So, content audit. Not sure if any of you have ever heard of it, what even that is, but it is one of the tools greatly used by content strategists. It's one of kind of helping hands, I guess, that can help you handpick content that is worth carrying on, or alternating, fully scrapping, etc. Content audit pretty much is going to just put you the content you already have in front of you, and you can, with a logical mind, analyze it instead of going on, let's say, Twitter and just scrolling and understanding, oh, there's like 50,000 different types of content we already create. What do I do now? Focusing on long-term goals is key in this. Identifying what the best practices would be for the particular organization is vital. The practice can be scrapping everything and starting from a fresh page, or slowly taking content that doesn't provide enough value out of the rotation and replacing with lower effort and higher reward content instead. What that means is that something that takes your company less effort to plan, produce, film, and release, and making sure that there is higher reward for it. It can be a short-term or a long-term content piece. It doesn't really matter. What matters is what your organization can achieve and what people you actually have, because making sure that your team aligns with your goals is very crucial, because if you stretch each other too thin, you'll reach that point of burnout, and it's very hard to come out of it. So here's a few examples of what content audits usually look like. There are 3 audit types, and each of them have a different kind of goal and what they're used for and when. So as the first one, we have the quantitative inventory. I can't speak today, I do apologize. Which is a list of all the content you have, just like the inventory of the products in a warehouse or a store. Demonstrate magnitude and complexity of your existing content is why you would be making this part of the audit, and you should be doing this before content strategy work begins. So instead of jumping straight into, we're just going to make this to achieve that, creating a quantitative inventory helps you say that we are going to create this content because this is so much better than something else that we are already creating, because it takes less effort and has higher reward, known from our analysis of content we already produce. As the next step for an audit type, we have a qualitative audit, which is best practices assessment, which is a comparison of your content against industry's best practices, usually done by a third-party unbiased assessor. The reason for that is you, even coming into the organization, already don't have a clear view of what your competitors are doing because you think that everything you're doing is the best. Making sure that an unbiased person is creating this part of the audit will help you look at it reasonably and say, yes, okay, this is very true, this isn't working, we need to change this. The reason why we do this is to prioritize content efforts, usually by identifying the lowest quality content and gaping holes. And then this should be done before strategy begins or in the early stages of strategy development to allow for adjustments. Again, same as the first point, this helps you understand what you can and can't create, what is feasible and what isn't. And as the last audit type, we have qualitative audit, which is strategic assessment. The kind of explanation of that is an invaluable in-depth look at how your content measures up to your strategic goals. The reason why we do this is to identify gaps between where you are and where you want to go, get insight into what resources you'll need to get there. And this should be performed and kind of works best after your core strategy and key strategic recommendations are complete. Any questions on audits? Do let me know. Okay, we'll leave questions for afterwards. You're very shy, It's kind of sad. Anybody got a question? Okay. So as the next step, we have analysis. For content analysis, there are internal and external factors that can shape what your content is and what it could be. Business goals, resource constraints, user needs, and competitor activities are just a few things that influence content and its quality. Making sure that you assess all of those will help you create the best strategy for the company. And analyzing the world in which the content lives is crucial prior to making any recommendations. Prior to jumping into strategy, we make sure to ask all important questions about all the factors that may impact content creation, maintenance, and ongoing success. The key here is to remember that content doesn't end at production and release. There is maintenance, if you are creating a content piece that's gonna carry out, let's say, once a week, is that sustainable for your organization? Is that sustainable for the amount of people you have? Make sure that those questions are asked prior to you actually telling them that this is the content we're going to be making. The goal for this is to create it on a weekly basis, release it on a weekly basis, and produce it again. Because if it's a long-form content piece, if you don't have people for that, all of that pressure falls on you. The execution falls on you. The release falls on you. Making sure that you also understand that you can't take all of it on will help you succeed. Next one. So now we get to actual strategy. So this is my lovely content strategy quad. I absolutely love it. In the middle, we have the core strategy, the thing that connects all the other components of the content strategy together. It provides all the necessary guiding light that keeps us moving in the right direction, no matter what might happen along the way. I absolutely love it because it's a very clear explanation of how it works and what kind of the key part of core strategy is, how much it helps you move forward and actually achieve those goals without letting everything else impact it, and you have to adjust it. So, what is a core strategy? In almost all industries, things change constantly. In order to stay relevant, we have to make sure the content changes and adapts constantly too, which may result in perpetual feeling of playing catch-up, which is exactly where core strategy comes in. You don't want to be at that point where you feel like you just can't catch a break and you're just trying to understand what is going on and you don't see the clear final goal. To reiterate, content strategy defines how an organization will use content to achieve its objectives and meet its goals and user needs. The core strategy sets the long-term direction for all content-related initiatives, ensuring all activities, big or small, are working together towards the same magnificent future. Tactics might need to adjust, but the core strategy will stay consistent. An effective core strategy should always be flexible, aspirational, memorable, motivational, and inclusive. If you look at any brand out there that you might be a fan of and analyze what type of content they produce and post on all social media channels, on external marketing that spreads beyond social media, which is also a thing, which most people in esports don't use, but remember that that is also an availability within marketing that you can create strategy for, making sure that you kind of analyze it, and you will very quickly understand if all these points are part of their strategy, if you put a clear mind to your analysis of their current marketing. So, developing core strategy, there is this great author, Lee Thomas, from Brain Traffics, who helps organizations define their core strategy using a concept he calls achieve, be, and do. This approach helps answer critically important questions. Achieve, what does your content strategy need to accomplish for the organization, oh my God, I can't speak, for the organization, for your industry, for your products, etc. B, what content products will we create? In other words, what will we produce for our users/consumers? How will those content products be valuable to the users/consumers? And as the last point, do, what will the organization need to do to support the content effort? I absolutely love them. I think these are great points to focus on. Ask yourself these questions every single time you're creating core strategy, and you will see where you are falling short and what you need to improve or what you have excelled at, and you can carry on doing what you're doing. So, content components. Content is there to help achieve objectives, business goals, user goals, and long-term strategy goals. So this is what we spoke about before. There is a lot more that goes into your consideration for content and strategy than just what you can see with the naked eye. There is loads of considerations that goes into identification of required content, such as audience, who are we trying to reach? That's what we discussed before. Create that audience profile. It will make you understand what it is exactly you are focusing on, who exactly you want to offer this content to. Even if other people will see this content that don't match your profile, you're still focusing on those people that you have created a profile for. Messaging, what do we want our users to remember? Don't mistake messaging for content. Those are two different things. Topics, the subjects that matter. Purpose, every piece of content needs a job. Sources, where does the content come from? And voice and tone. All these things, again, same as previously, will help you guide what you are creating and what you are advising and recommending to create. Structure of your content. Strategist jobs also involves figuring out the structure of the content, what it will look like, how long will it be, what website will it be on, etc. All those things need to be considered before you even know what the content piece is going to be. The decisions fall on the strategist to figure out how content should be prioritized, organized, formatted, and displayed. There are high-level decisions, what channels should be used, all the way down to the tiny detailed decisions, what time will this content piece be released and why, and everything in between all of that. The reason for this is you can also create strategy that very, like, kind of handpicks the time that hits majority of the audience you are looking to actually attract. So making sure that you understand all these questions, you outline them in your strategy, you make sure that people actually see your content piece will help you achieve what you have preset in the strategy as your KPIs, as your goals, key performance indicators. I realize that I should not be using short terms. So that is all I've got. I am more than happy to carry on talking about strategy. I think I could stand here all day. I tried to kind of make it tiny and just explain in the best way I possibly can. I am more than happy to answer any questions you might have. I think I have been breathing into the mic, so I do apologize anybody on Zoom. I am trying my best. But yeah, go ahead. I'm here for you. Yes. 2 seconds. I will take a sip of water while you're walking.
Couple of questions. First of all, I wanted to know what the goal is when creating video content specifically, because I just had a look at Team Liquid's League of Legends YouTube channel, which has 25,000 subscribers and is getting like 15,000 at most views on videos. And that's been going on for months, if not years. I didn't actually look at how long they've had their own separate YouTube channel, but it seems weird to me that there would be so many full-time employees who obviously are doing other videos as well, but to put so much effort into like these videos that are getting like negligible views, I would assume, in terms of revenue. And so why are those pieces created? Is it a hope that if enough of it is created that eventually the views will be there, or is there another reason?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I myself haven't worked with Team Liquid themselves. I worked for Liquid Media. So I won't be able to tell you exactly what the specifics of their strategy is. However, if we view it from a perspective of just analyzing what they are creating and what it's getting, the goal of that would be long-term. So there's also, to add to the long-term goal, there's also the kind of aspect of history. So remembrance of what is happening, why it happened, when it happened. Making sure that those things are still involved helps the organization establish themselves. And granted, Team Liquid have been around for years now, but helping them kind of separate and segregate YouTube channels, help them establish kind of the game-specific audiences that they have. So there is a potential of it being history, it being long-term goals, or it being understanding how big their specific audience for League of Legends is. By creating videos that go on the main page, you can't understand what amount of people is actually interested in that team, rather than they just click on the newest video that's been released. So there might be that potential that they're trying to understand their audience and segregate it to do the analysis of our audience. Let's say for League of Legends, isn't that huge on YouTube, so is it worth spending time and creating content for YouTube if it doesn't give us what we need? But that analysis does take months, sometimes years to create, because you can't judge it by 1 month, because you also need consistency to make sure that the algorithm, I was trying to remember the name, that the algorithm is actually on your side. Every single platform has an algorithm, just that might or might not play into your favor. So making sure that you balance that out and then understanding what your audience actually is would be the long-term goal with that. I hope that helps.
Yep. The other question was about content creators and pro players. And I'm not sure if you actually have experience of this, but how much control would you have as a social media strategist to have your content creators and pro players and whatever on their social media, whether that be YouTube, Twitter, whatever, follow that same strategy, do you bring them in onto that? Are they completely independent? What goes on there?
Yeah, another great question. This does really depend on their contracts with the organization. I do have experience with it. I dealt with it a lot at Excel Esports. Majority of the time, players' contracts do also state that they comply with the strategy of the organization. Wording is completely dreadful, don't quote me on that, and please don't cancel me, but it does say that the whole point is that they are in line with what the company believes in. Majority of companies that are big, they have their belief system and kind of their understanding of what they stand for, which when players are brought in, they are brought in to also stand for it. Which is also why the player needs to do a lot of consideration if they want to join the team, because it stems a lot beyond just playing for the team. So with the players, majority of the time the strategy will also extend to them. For that you have team managers, which again, depending on the contract, you would speak to the team manager as a content strategist once the strategy has been approved and passed. And the team manager would pass it on to the players, or you would set a meeting and talk them through it of what your goals right now are. Majority of the time, players also have their monthly goals, be it tweets that they need to make a month, be it TikToks that they need to make a month, whatever it is, they have those goals. Majority of the time it's streams, so Twitch streams. But yeah, depending on that will depend how much impact, I guess, you have as a content strategist, but you do brief them on that. And majority of the time it's the social media managers that follow what the players post, and then that is reported internally, and then that reaches you, and then there's adjustments if need be. When it comes to influencers, influencers don't really post content that is sponsored content unless you've approved it. So that again would come into kind of your email, either yours or your boss's emails, and that would then go down the pipeline and most likely reach you to say and sign off of yes, this is a go, or no, this is completely out of line of what our strategy right now is, so we can't proceed with this. Additionally, when content strategy is created and you want to work with influencers, you would be kind of in a position to handpick influencers you work with, because not for every single content piece you can take the same influencer. So again, that's where content strategy does come in a lot, and those are kind of those tiny details that you have to iron out. And by understanding who your audience is, having that profile, understanding what your previous content pieces have looked like, what has and hasn't worked, will help you understand which influencers are best for your organization. Perfect. I was about to say, anybody else?
Hello. As a woman in esports, I know you mentioned working with ninjas in pajamas. There was quite a toxic place to work as a woman. Do you have any advice on how to recognize when a workplace is toxic to women, and any tips on how you deal with it?
That's actually a great question, and I really appreciate it. I'm definitely in a place where I don't want to say that ninjas in pajamas will forever be that way, but my experience was that way, and I know a couple of other people whose experience was the same. I think the best advice is just trust your instinct, believe in what you feel inside, and don't question yourself, because I did, and I probably stayed for longer than I should have. And it's one of those things that if something inside of you is constantly telling you it's just not right, just move on. There's loads of other jobs, and yes, maybe that is your dream job, but the environment is toxic. It's not your dream job. Kind of accepting that your job doesn't define you is key, and making sure that you pursue what you believe in rather than represent something you don't believe in is probably key. The way to recognize it is quite difficult. The interesting thing is I even spoke to my bosses about it, and that backfired on me, which I think majority of us know is a very common thing, especially in a male-dominated scene. So I think kind of recognition is probably speak to your loved ones, explain the situation, explain what you're feeling so they can reason with you. maybe go and speak to another male, and maybe that will help you understand. Maybe speak to another woman. Maybe that will also help you. Because having those conversations and opening it up instead of just kind of having it in your head and going, am I wrong? Like, am I just overreacting? Won't do you any good. And that is also what leads to mental health breakdowns. So yeah, just talk to people and they will help you reason. And honestly, no matter how good the job offer is, if it's not right, don't do it. Just accept that there are organizations out there that won't care that you are a woman, that will care that you're a great worker, and that you actually produce quality and you are a professional in your scene. I hope that helps. But yeah.
Yeah, that was helpful. I have a second question as well. So when you were talking about mental health and taking a mental health break, sort of how do you do that if you're in a job? Like how do you step away while still actively working there?
Yeah, so this is one of those things that I think we all have a very toxic presumption that we have to work 24 hours a day. I most certainly am a victim to that. I made myself a victim by kind of creating this space in my head that I have to overachieve and I have to keep going and I can't stop. And if I stop, everything falls apart. And what is going to happen if I go on a break and et cetera, like literally spiraling every single time. So the best way to step away is, first thing, finding a company that will let you. Because there are companies that will literally fall apart if you step away. And that is another thing that you kind of need to balance out, because finding that life balance is very important. I have in my two recent jobs, which is the Uplift Games and Team Liquid, I had the option before I even joined. Everybody was very clear that if you need to take a break, you can literally type in Slack channels on that day and take a step back. You can take a mental health day. It's completely fine. Again, nobody's saying you need to take the whole day. If you feel like you need to take half a day off and you are happy to come back and proceed, do that, and as long as the organization allows you to do so, you'll be very comfortable. If an organization doesn't allow you to do so, that will create issues that will make you pretty much suffer, I want to say, for the lack of a better word, because it's very difficult, especially if you feel trapped. If you feel like there is no space for you to step away and actually take that time, it does create kind of the drive to burning out. So yeah, making sure that you just speak openly to your bosses from the very beginning is also key. Nobody good is gonna judge you for needing mental health days, because it's completely natural. We're not machines. We're literally just people. Because they would rather give you a mental health day than lose you as an employee fully, which is why I'm also saying finding a company that actually believes in you will help a lot.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you for the great questions.
What advice would you give on building a portfolio for a social media job if you don't have any experience professionally in social media?
Yeah, so realistically, when you say you don't have any experience, do you post on Twitter?
Yeah.
Do you post on Instagram? So all of that is experience. I am afraid that when we say that we don't have any experience, we forget that us even being on top of trends is still experience, because your brain automatically seeks out, oh, I've heard this sound on TikTok like 50 times a day. Clearly it's trending, right? And that creates in your head a experience that you might not even acknowledge that you have. And exactly to my questions, you do post on social media, right? So you're already gaining experience of what does work, what doesn't work. And additionally to that, what you can do is do analysis on your own socials. I don't know, set goals that you want to achieve, and all of that will play into experience. Additionally, you can take some freelance jobs if you'd like to. There are loads of people that are taking social media managers as freelancers just for project or campaign basis. So doing that additionally is also great. Another thing is university. If you can get involved with your society, get involved with the society. Yes, it's doing a job for free, but at the same time, you are gaining what you need, which is building the portfolio. So there's that bridge that you need to overstep that I believe most of us believe in, that we don't have any experience, although we do. And make sure that you include any of that information in your CV. And, also remember that your CV doesn't define you. Your cover letter can say a lot more about you than your CV. So making sure that your CV, has university and some jobs that have nothing to do with social media, but making sure that your cover letter actually outlines what those jobs did for you to be okay and great at social media will help you a lot. And another advice I always give is it's easier to find people with experience that are terrible people than to find good people and teach them the skills. So that's another thing, finding a company that will take a chance on you is possible. All you need to do is apply, and they'll probably give you an opportunity.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I'm scared.
Hello.
Hi.
Monika, you did some great stuff with our third years with regards to the usage of different social media platforms for different purposes. And obviously mentioning some of the experiences that some of these lot have with regards to what they're already doing, but things that they could potentially look at doing with regards to using a usage of LinkedIn and or usage of what they do, put out on Twitch, the kind of content that goes on YouTube, or anything that they can do to promote themselves as esports production students or students going into the field of esports, what things to look out for and how to really effectively plug themselves into it for self-promotion in a safe and logical way.
Yeah, so LinkedIn, as mentioned, is probably the greatest tool at this time to network. Obviously, although COVID has ended like a while back now, it still feels like it's here to a point of actually limiting us. I'm by no means claiming that it's over. But the use of LinkedIn will help people who would like to offer you a job understand who you are as a person, what you stand for, what you've done in university. I mentioned to the students that the greatest thing to do is literally post on there what you are doing here, what you are creating, I don't know, you set a production, post about it on LinkedIn, get a quick picture on your phone and just make a post of what you did for it, what that gave you, how you feel, that's another great thing is like, what kind of emotions did that bring to you? Are you excited to be involved in the professional scene? Does that change your perspective, etc.? So kind of offering yourself on LinkedIn from the side of what you want to represent is probably key, and I say probably, most definitely is key. So making sure that you kind of create content that you believe in without really assigning that I am working on my LinkedIn 24 hours a day and I can't miss a post, because again, that will lead to a burnout. And burnout with your own socials is also very possible, so kind of creating those platforms that help you network. Another great thing that I believe in is try to connect with as many people in the professional scene as you can. If you can, reach out to them, literally send a message of, hi, love the work you're doing, I just wanted to connect, to have you in my network, etc. Because then when you are ready to get a job, or you leave a job and you are again out for the market to get another job, you can post on LinkedIn and your whole network will see that. If your network believes in it and they have followed what you have been creating thus far, they will promote your post and try to help you to find the job. So there's a lot of kind of benefits that LinkedIn provides, and kind of making sure that you stay on top of that is definitely key.
And can you maybe outline some do's and don'ts with regards to safely navigating the social media space in a way that still allows you to obviously promote yourself, but doing it in a way that doesn't put you in the negative light?
I mean, the most important thing, please don't be racist, sexist, or homophobic, or anything else that isn't normal, because that is just not healthy. And please, if you are any of those things, get help. However, as do's, probably just be active, be yourself, you know, don't try to pretend to be somebody else. That won't do you any good. And when people actually will meet you in real life, they will be like, who the hell is this? I have never seen this person speak like this. So making sure that you are yourself will also lead you to connecting with people who think the same as you do. That's probably a do. And yeah, like there aren't that many don'ts, because I think social media is a platform to speak freely, except for if you have very bad opinions, please, like, you know, keep them to yourself. It's okay not to share everything on social media. But also add pictures, you know, like with events, add pictures to your posts, add videos. Right now, algorithm is pretty much working more towards video content and pushing that, although Instagram has gone through like so many changes. It was like, first we'll put on your For You page just images, then just videos. Now we're apparently cycling back to images. So, you know, also keeping on top of those, I guess, helps you actually promote yourself and hit the algorithm the way you want to. But yeah, also that would help for the experience for social media, is following what the newest trends are. There are loads of great Twitter pages of loads of amazing people within social media that have nothing to do with esports, but they literally just post updates in very condensed way of changes on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, like anything, YouTube, you know, all those platforms. They literally just condense all the information and post it there, and all you need to do is quickly read their tweet while you're scrolling, and you're up to date with everything. Additionally, there are newsletters that you can follow to keep on top of everything. So yeah, there's loads of things that social media can provide you and help you guide your career, rather than make you stagnate and feel like you have no experience and you don't know what the heck is going on. Perfect.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Bit of a weird question, but
Go ahead.
as a social media strategist, as someone who does this as a job, have you noticed commonalities or trends between popular production people in the space? So, I mean, I guess the examples would be like Rush, who's an observer for CS:GO. Then you have Sapphire, you have Prius. They're people that are very behind the scenes in terms of the actual work that they do. But I mean, other than obviously being very active on Twitter, I'm sure there are a lot of other production people that are very active on Twitter, but they're not as known within the community and within the scene. And I think that's like, as in an industry where job security is so difficult to find, social media and being very active on social media and being very well known in the community outside of productions, I think is very important to the security of your job, right? If the community want you, then you'll get hired. So I was just wondering if the commonalities or trends between those types of people, if you've noticed anything.
Yeah. So I really love that you've brought it to behind the scenes people, because I think majority of the things we're talking here is literally behind the scenes. And commonalities between casters, hosts, that are less known than maybe people like Shocks, or I have no other people in my head right now, but you get my point. The point of that is that social media, I have given loads of advice to people who are new and upcoming talent for casting or hosting, and majority of the kind of advice is try to be on social media, try to create TikToks, that shows your personality, it shows what you can do highlights of the gigs you get, and reach out to those people that you want to be like or you want to work with. Loads of those people, I have also given an advice to create strategy for themselves for social media channels, and making sure that they have this active presence and that they don't miss out on things, because that's another crucial thing with social media, is make sure that you stay on top of trends. Those change 24/7, and you know, one day we have a dog with a hat on their head, and the next day we have a frog jumping around the place, and that is supposed to be your profile picture. So you know, making sure that you kind of follow all of those, even as a caster, and you express your thoughts just like an organization would, are probably kind of the commonalities with it. There's loads of different aspects you can take to grow and be more within the space and be more noticed, which I think majority of the people that are within the space and are trying to achieve high goals understand that social media is one of the kind of key things to do to get to be more known and more popular. I don't know if that answered your question at all.
It's brilliant, thank you.
Okay, awesome. I love that he was walking because it gives me time to drink.
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering, as someone that after coming to this course decided to make like a Twitter account that was more professional and not like a personal account that has like, you know, all my hobbies and interests, where would you recommend kind of drawing a line between the content you post on a more professional account without kind of losing the sense of like being, you know, being a human? Because like it's easy to kind of only strictly look at it as business and then almost have it seem robotic. So I was just wondering whether you had any kind of like ideas on like a line between.
Yeah. May I ask why you separated your Twitter?
More just for more, I guess it was more just to create a more professional looking thing that would be able to like network with people rather than just having like absolute meme spam and like random stuff like all flooding timelines if anyone followed.
Okay. Why don't you want professional scene people to see your personality with memes? I'm very sorry, I know it was a question for me, but I have questions.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I was kind of just kind of in a headspace of wanting to seem like as professional, you know, as suit and tie as possible. So I guess the idea of just having like meme spam all across my timeline isn't really something that I expected companies would want. So that's why I was kind of looking for, it was like a grey area of what you can kind of put up there without coming across as unprofessional.
Okay, that's very fair. The thing is that the grey area with your own personality are things that I mentioned as don'ts. You sharing memes that you find funny. Loads of people in workspaces want fun people. It's very depressing to work with people who are just robots, especially in esports. You just cannot maintain that. Imagine you go into an office and everybody's just sat there not wanting to even have a random conversation about capybara TikTok, you know? So it's one of those things where I think here it's very important to establish what you want to give professionally. If you feel like your professional TikTok is becoming more of just a robotic, here is what I'm doing, here is what I achieved, etc., maybe involve more of the memes, maybe involve more what you believe in, because realistically, if an organization who wants to hire you will check Twitter, they will find both of your profiles, and they will look at both of your profiles, and they will search both of your profiles for any words that are of the don'ts. So that's why I'm asking why you decided to separate. Because if you wanted to just create a space where the list is just your work, fair enough. But if you want to push that Twitter to your potential jobs and organizations that you are applying to, then involve your personality. Because people want to know who you are as a person, and Twitter is probably one of the greater places that people check before they give offers to jobs to any employee, potential employees, because it really does tell them who you are. And as I mentioned previously, don't be afraid of who you are. You know, like embrace it. It's you, you know, and that's what you bring to the organization. And if your goal, let's say, is event production professionally, you want somebody who's upbeat. You want somebody who's online with memes, you know, who can understand them, who has fun and they enjoy what they do. so yeah, kind of understanding that line of why you wanted the Twitter separate would be important. If you don't want to be robotic on your professional Twitter, try to just talk about your experience and what you're doing rather than just posting final product. Kind of showing what you are working towards is just as beneficial as the final product.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it helps because yeah.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Any more questions?
So, do you have any advice for people who, like myself, I've never like enjoyed posting personal stuff on social media, but I also like I know in my work I'm like a bubbly, outgoing person. I just have no idea how I would put that out on Twitter. Like I know how to talk to people, but I don't know how to like broadcast that to like a wider range of people.
Yeah, that's very fair. Do you have any hobbies outside of esports?
Yeah, when I get time.
Okay, fair enough, as all of us. May I ask what they are?
So I'm quite big into photography, so that's probably like the one non-esports thing that I posted about, but it's something that I don't do much of, and I find when I post that kind of thing, like I don't get many interactions with it, so I've kind of felt like, oh, maybe, you know, like people who are interested in the work that I do aren't really interested in what I do as a hobby.
So the thing there is to remember that personal stuff isn't just pictures of yourself. Personal things on your personal Twitter can literally just be your thoughts. Whatever you feel like you want to post, just post it. And making sure that the interests that you have and the hobbies that you have, such as photography, carry on posting the pictures. Doesn't matter that people don't engage. You will attract the audience that will engage. And that's what the algorithm is all about. It's kind of showing who you are through your lens is just as amazing and super informative as seeing your face on Twitter. You know, because the thing is that like social media is there for you to post whatever you feel like you want to put out to the world, and maybe sometimes we post things we shouldn't put out to the world, but you know, if you are logical about it and you understand that this is who I am and I want to, I'll give an example, post my cat every single day, then I'll post my cat every single day, you know? And that is also completely fine because my phone is filled with my dog's pictures. Do they make it to the internet? No. Should they? Probably, because they're hilarious. See? So again, it's something that you can post, you know, and that will bring your personality out. And if you make the caption of what you would want to say, that will get your tone of voice out of you are a bubbly person. So kind of, I guess the advice there would be remember that you don't only have to post yourself or post something that is very meaningful because you can really just post your thoughts and everybody who will relate and will engage. And it's okay if people don't engage. That's another thing is remember you don't need to focus on engagement as much as you should focus on pushing yourself through of this is who I am, and if anybody ever scrolls through this, they'll know what I like and what kind of my hobbies are. And I think imagery, like photography, is a great place to and kind of thing to post. I've recently started posting books, so you know, it is what it is. So whatever you're interested in, honestly. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that helps. Also, you should post more dog pics.
I will. I'll go home and like every single picture will be my dog. Anybody else? Oh, perfect. Sorry, I didn't see you raise your hand, and he's already walking. I'm not turning fast enough. Getting steps in from one end to the other.
I'm not actually sure how much you know about this, but when companies are looking at social media or like what a candidate has posted online, how far do they go? 'Cause I think I don't know how, I mean, there's a lot of young people in this room, but like, there may be questionable things on my Tumblr account from like 2012. So like, like how far back would and like how because like okay they'll go to my Twitter, that makes sense. They'll go to my LinkedIn, they might go to my Instagram, but like MySpace, yeah, Jesus. Like
Not that far,
do you know how far they go? Would they like I know there is software and applications that some companies use that like you can put in like my email and you get every account linked to my email, and then it like searches for terms or whatever. But do you know in esports how far that goes?
Yeah, so in esports, majority of large organizations also use those softwares. Majority of them are used on influencers because people more care about influencers, because barely anybody who is the behind the scenes professional, it's rather rare actually that people post on their own socials, especially if they're a social media manager. It is excruciating pain having to manage somebody else's social media channels and then also think about yourself. It's just a lot. And sometimes you're just like, I can't be asked. My Twitter was like AFK for like a year, you know, and it happens and it's completely normal. But to answer your question, I don't think anybody would look at your Tumblr. I mean, now everybody watching this will be like, oh, let's go. But realistically, I personally, through doing my research on people we're hiring, I have never looked at Tumblr. Also, I don't know anybody within the scene who has, and I know a fair amount of people. So yeah, if you have an opportunity to delete those things, I would advise to delete them, although deleting them doesn't take it off the internet ever. It still reduces the kind of ability to find it easier. For your Twitter and Instagram, Twitter has a great tool, not for anybody who has posted since like 2009, but great tool where you can literally just type in the search bar for that exact channel and it will drop you out exact word as many times as they've used it. So being careful with that, maybe go home and do that on your own profile and try to see if you think they are questionable. Again, if you don't believe in those things, remove them. Because that can go as far as 2009, you know, that it will literally just bring all your tweets out. For Instagram, majority of the people just scroll. You can't really search for comments. So that's like, I wouldn't worry about that probably. But again, for social media managers, honestly, barely anybody checks anything besides Twitter. Because Twitter is one of those platforms where people post a lot and literally just type things out. So yeah, just kind of making sure that that is a clean page without questionable things would probably be key. I wouldn't worry too much about Tumblr, but don't quote me on that because, you know, now I've said it and now everybody's going to be checking Tumblr. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much.
And on the topic of Twitter then, how private is a private account?
So, it's private, but if somebody really wanted to, they can do a code and see everything inside. So, yeah, just kind of making sure that maybe on there you also don't post questionable things that you don't believe in. That's why I keep reiterating that you don't believe in, because if you are a person of don'ts, then sadly you can't change that about yourself if you don't want to change that about yourself, you know? So making sure that you're true to yourself and you question yourself just as much as others would, probably would be beneficial to make sure that you are the best person you want to be going forward. So yeah, it's private, but not too private. Perfect. Sorry, I'm ready, you know?
I'm assuming, so obviously with looking into people's like what their Gmail or whatever's logged into, I'm assuming the checks that they do are limited to like posts and whatever, because like I'm trying to think of something like random, just like anything is like logged into from like things that you viewed or anything like that, or even something that's not social media. I'm assuming they can't look at that sort of stuff because that'll be like invasion of privacy.
Correct. So majority of the time, which is what I'm saying, the majority of the time it's just checked actual social media channels. On Twitter, you can see replies, not just posts. if you literally type just the name and then the word, it will drop that out. But no, you can't see what they have open and what they are looking
So
at.
basically, just be careful of the things that you press send on.
Correct.
And everything else is fine.
Yes.
I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, just that.
You are correct. It is an invasion of privacy. So that far, none of that goes. And I think for social media managers, nobody really cares that much because all they care about is that the person is a decent enough person and good at their job. So they will just be like, let's do just a general check just to make sure it's all safe. Perfect. Anybody else? Nobody wants to talk to me anymore. Oh, there we go.
Do you know if you're a newer company, how do you like always try and keep up and like stay fresh? Because I know a couple of people who are trying to make a company and trying to always keep ahead of the trends and everything. How would you try and like maintain that to the maximum of your ability?
Yeah. So with startups, it really depends on kind of the availability, I guess, you have from people. It's also how much time you want to invest in that. This is where business goals come into play. It's kind of establishing those and understanding what they are will help you understand if social media is something that you want to focus on right now. Because for a lot of esports organizations and gaming organizations, social media is one of the kind of last things that they think about. We see with bigger brands that it's one of the first things they think about, but that's only because they have everything behind the scenes already sorted. Making sure that you kind of stay true to the company and its goals and what it stands for, and just even posting once a week, it's consistency. With algorithm loves consistency, absolutely adores it. If you decide that you can physically maintain being on top of trends once a week, maintain that on that exact day, at that exact time, you post something. Additionally, on social media, you can schedule everything. So that's a great tool. We absolutely love it as social media managers. But the thing there would be literally just deciding what your goals as a business are. And you will still stay on top of trends because you're still using social media yourself. You don't have to be using it as a job. When you are scrolling through it and if something huge comes up, you can literally go, oh, I'll just go on the work social media and post that just because the trend is up now. Might as well get involved. But again, with trends also, does the trend align with what your company stands for? Probably is also important to establish. It's like, how fine is the line? Because with memes, the line is very fine. So making sure that you kind of don't overstep into the territory that you don't believe in will help. So yeah, kind of not putting that pressure of we have to be posting every single day 5 times a day, and just taking a realistic turn of we can sustain once a week. Completely fine. You know, and creating images that are graphics, also completely fine. Just making sure that it's your organization. Yeah. Of course.
So you said you worked for London Esports, right? That's what they're
Yes,
called?
London United.
London United, yeah. And having worked with bigger organizations as well, Team Liquid and Excel.
Team Liquid. Team Liquid's the biggest one, probably.
Team Liquid,
yeah.
right. So I was wondering, is the overall business strategy, content strategy always just growth? Because obviously with London United, you have, it's a smaller esports organization. They're trying to get their name out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would imagine they're mostly focused on growth. Is it the same with like XL, Team Liquid, these teams that are already kind of established and known? Is it always just about getting bigger?
So there's various ways that can be taken. That's where the business goals will depend. Very often strategy is campaign based. What I mean by that is, let's say LCS finals are coming up. That's going to be a campaign. A merge drop is coming up. That's another campaign that has a completely different strategy. Campaign for LCS will most likely goal be views and exposure, which is literally just eyeballs, how many people see us as a team. For merge drops, it will be sales. For organization overall, probably growth. It can also change throughout the time. There are different goals that the organization will set depending on the business goals. Very often you will also be presented with key performance indicators, so you can actually analyze if you are reaching that goal. Very often those are also used to actually establish strategy, which is where the analysis comes in as well. Understanding what you're looking at from data proves to be vital in order to create a strategy that will give you what you need to achieve the goal that's been set, and that can be growth, sales, exposure, just eyeballs, I don't know, amount of content pieces produced the month, anything, but that will majority of the time be given to you by the company working for.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, and just quickly, for small organizations, it will be growth majority of the time. Anybody else?
So as we were kind of having a discussion previously about people posting stuff on the social media, I was wondering what your opinion is on cancel culture and if you think people can redeem themselves from a past that they no longer feel connected to.
That's a difficult question. I think that cancel culture is a very dirty culture. I think letting people redeem themselves is valid, unless you are a certain poor person called Andrew Tate. But I do think that there are people who shouldn't have a platform that they can speak on, and I do believe that people that stand with those people shouldn't also have a platform to speak on, because as much as we maybe don't want to believe it, kids are on social media and they're a lot more impressionable than majority of you here are. And making sure that kind of that education is out there is key. With that said, I still believe cancel culture is quite dirty, because I think people nowadays are very slow at forgiving. Obviously, there are things that can't be forgiven, but that's a completely different page. I think nowadays people try to cancel other people over very small things a lot of the time, and making sure that that kind of isn't encouraged is probably what I would be expecting and hoping for, because I have seen some people cancelled for literally nothing, and it makes me question of what are we trying to achieve here, because as far as I was aware, we were all trying to make everybody's lives entertaining. But yeah, there are some people that probably just shouldn't have a platform to speak on. They don't necessarily need to be cancelled, but they just should not have a platform to speak on or have people that follow them and believe in what they stand for. So yeah, I think that's my opinion.
Yeah. So do you think there's like a huge difference between people who've made mistakes in the past and moved on from them, and people like Andrew Tate who are so deep they will never come out of it?
100%. I can speak from my personal experience. You know, we're all people. We all grow up. We all move on. First year of university, I was a completely different person than I am now. You know, so many years later, with quite a bit of experience below my belt. You know, and behind my belt, not below it. And yeah, people change. You know, we adapt. We grow, and making sure that people have that space to come out of it, I think is definitely necessary. And yes, the difference is huge. Huge. Andrew Tate is like over 30, you know? Like, surely there was time to grow.
Yeah, you'd hope.
I would, but yeah, we don't talk about that. No, we'll say no. Just you can't ask a question.
I came in quite late, but just in regards to social media, content creation and stuff like that, you know, it's only one little part of the whole process. But, you know, what do you think of tools like new stuff like CapCut, Canva, instead of traditional stuff like Figma and Premiere Pro and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I know there's some social media management people doing their module today, so that could be a bit interesting for them.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love the tools for beginners. I think they provide a lot of value, because things like, Adobe Suite is super expensive. So yeah, the kind of quick answer is I love them because they provide a lot of help for free for people who are just starting out. However, if you are trying to make a name for yourself and have a professional, let's say, website, I have recently run into a very interesting thing where I can recognize that it's Canva. Because I've literally gone onto somebody's website they claim to be an established organization, and I can tell that their whole website is just Canva. And I showed it to my partner, and he agreed. So clearly there is quite a big difference between professionally made assets and assets made on free platforms such as Canva. I think if you're trying to become more professional and move into the space from a perspective of I want to make a career out of this, or my organization needs to be a legitimate, have a legitimate kind of presence, maybe hiring somebody who has a license and can create those things for you is useful, but I still wholeheartedly believe that for people who are just starting out, those platforms are amazing and they provide a lot of value, and a lot of value for video editing as well, you know, like there's so many useful tools out there.
On the topic of free tools, FaZe Clan yesterday did a post on International Women's Day, and they had very obviously used AI art as the backdrop for it or whatever. I was wondering what the like how many companies nowadays are getting involved in things like AI art to circumvent the costs of artists, or having full-time artists on, or artists that they would pay per post or whatever. I don't know if you have any insight on that.
Yeah. From what I have seen personally, I think majority of the organizations currently, don't know about FaZe Clan, but majority of them currently only use it as a addition. So it's more of a fun tool rather than a professional tool. With that said, I am quite afraid of what's going to happen in the future. I think there are amazing talents out there that an AI right now could not create. I hope that the creatives of the industry can maintain their jobs and this doesn't fully ruin them, because it's not, in my opinion, it's not the greatest practice. So to answer your question, thus far I haven't seen many organizations take on board of that. It just has been an occasional post with AI, but opportunities are endless, so God knows what's going to happen. But yeah, I hope that it doesn't take over the world within the next a year. So yeah. Any more questions?
Folks, if we can all join our hands in thanking Monika, the oracle of social media practice. Put your hands together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That very quickly went.